So around a year ago, around this time, is when the Black Lives Matter movement was trending all over social media. But what I want to remind my viewers is that, of course, the Black Lives Matter movement was never a trend. It was always a topic that needed to be discussed and addressed. And to this day, to this very day, it's still something that we need to actively talk about, discuss, and take action on. So I was reflecting on a film that I watched a couple years ago and just sort of rewatching it, and that is Mississippi Masala, which is directed by Yessirr is a phenomenal director. I love her work, I love the stories that she tells, and I love the way that she tells them. And I thought, a year ago, I didn't have this platform that I have now, but now that I am on YouTube, let's talk about anti-Black racism in the South Asian community. By the way, y'all, my house is so freaking hot. It's not even funny, so if my skin looks dewy, it's just sweat. So the film Mississippi Masala follows a young Indian girl named Meena who lives in Mississippi, who falls in love with a black boy whose name is Demetrius. Demetrius was born and raised in Mississippi, and he is a carpet cleaner who started his own business that has been doing really well. The movie follows these two and their love story and the backlash and the contempt that they get from their peers for being an interracial couple. To give you guys a little bit of context in case you haven't watched this movie, Meena and her family are actually Ugandan Indians. And for those of you who don't know, back when Europe still colonized a lot of parts of Africa and India, they brought thousands upon thousands of Indians to Uganda to build a railroad. And after this railroad was built, After this railroad was built, they just left them there. So these Indians have lived in Uganda for generations upon generations and obviously have an Indian identity but are African Indians. That was until the Ugandan dictator Idi Amin, I think that's how you say his name, kicked them all out, told them all that their time in Uganda is over, and gave them only a couple of weeks to leave India or else they would face execution. This is actually a direct quote from Idi Amin and something that he said. He said, "Asians came to Uganda to build the railway. The railway is finished. They must leave now. I will give them 90 days to pack up and go. Asians have milked the cow but not fed it. Africans are poor, Asians are rich. The Asians are sabotaging the economy of Uganda." Meena's dad loved being Ugandan. He was a very proud Ugandan citizen, so when he had to evacuate the country, he was very, very heartbroken. And what hurt him even more was that his own best friend had actually encouraged him to just follow the new law and leave Uganda, and that actually broke off their friendship entirely, and they no longer shared a friendship anymore. It was something that deeply hurt her father. So the way people find out that Meena and Demetrius are together is because they go on a date, and while they're on the date, Meena's relatives, her cousins, see them together, and they end up barging into their hotel room and attempting to beat up Demetrius, but it was a fail. And obviously, we know how it goes if you're from the South Asian community. People love to gossip, people love to talk, and sooner than later, everybody found out that Meena was caught with a black boy in a hotel room, and her family was absolutely disappointed and upset with Meena because they felt that she had ruined their reputation, and her dad felt like she was going out of her way to hurt herself by falling for someone who's from another race, specifically falling for a black guy because from his experience a black man had abandoned him and he fears that the same will happen to his daughter. So that's my synopsis of the film. If you haven't watched it, I don't want to give away too much. I do highly recommend that you go see it. But now let's talk about the three main points that I want to discuss about anti-blackness in the South Asian community and use this film as a way to elevate my points. The first thing I want to talk about is colorism. Don't we fucking love colorism? Little backstory. When I was a kid, I was told multiple times by relatives that I was very dark, that I looked more like my dad in an insulting way because my dad is dark skinned. And look at me, like, I'm very light. I'm definitely more on the lighter side of the color spectrum, but I grew up hearing very colorist things. You can imagine that if someone of my complexion had to face colorism in my community, then girls who are darker, who are dark skinned within my community, I can't even imagine the horrible things that they've had to hear growing up and are still hearing to this day. The colorism in the South Asian community is so bizarre. We literally hate the color of our skin, and we celebrate women who are lighter, who are more fair, even if they aren't as beautiful as a dark-skinned woman, just because immediately when they're fair, we dub them as beautiful. And that's because we see beauty through the eye of the colonizer. We see beauty through a European lens trans, the more white, the more ambiguous she looks, the more fair she is, the prettier she is. We don't even like to celebrate our own features, the features that we exhibit, the features that make us South Asians. Instead, we want to look more like the people that colonized us. Mina is beautiful. The actress that plays her is absolutely gorgeous. Like, the entire film I was just staring at this actress. But her peers and the girls around her snicker behind her back and talk about how it makes no sense for her to marry the ideal brown boy that all the girls are chasing because she's dark-skinned and she's poor. Why the hell would he want a dark-skinned girl who is poor? So for what reason would she ever be the ideal appearance of beauty? And that is definitely deeply rooted in anti-blackness within our communities. We don't look at black people as the same as ourselves. We look at ourselves as better because phenotypically, although brown people come in so many shades and although black people come in so many shades, ignorantly we can perceive that black people are darker than brown people, and that makes us that much better because we are that much closer to looking like what white people look like. And that brings me to my next point, which is that South Asians have used black people to our benefit and have benefited from the paths that black people have paved for us. What I want all groups of color to understand is that black people fighting for their rights as people of color have benefited all of us. Our oppressors see us all as colored. At the end of the day, we are all people of color. We are all seen as inferior to the white man. So when black people went out of their way to put their lives in the forefront and fight for freedom, fight for liberty, fight for equality, it benefited all groups of color. Any bit of freedom that we have in America and in Canada and the Western world is thanks to the fighting that black people had to do and are still doing. There's a scene in the movie where Mina's cousins, I'm sorry y'all, there's construction happening near my house and it just won't fucking stop. But her relatives are literally milking Demetrius. They are telling him how we are all colored people, that colored people must stick together against the white man, that we're all oppressed and we all have to be unified so we can fight the oppressor together. And they're making him feel like we're a pack, we're a team, we're all of color, so that makes us all one.
Relax, sit down. Black, brown, yellow, Mexican, Puerto Rican, all the same. As long as you're not white, means you're colored. Isn't that so?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
Hey, Demetrius, a girl had an accident with your van yesterday. All us people of color must stick together.
That's right. Because you and your brothers, y'all done all right by us, and me and my brothers, we're going to do sure enough all right by y'all.
United we stand. Divided we fall.
And of course, Demetrius is buying it. He's like, okay, I hear you. And then of course, when they find Mina and Demetrius together in the hotel room, they immediately attack Demetrius and tell him to leave our women alone. They even go and call him Kalu, which is a slur that is directed towards black people or dark-skinned people. I'm not exactly sure what the translation of Kalu is, but I know that Kalu, it means black. So to use it in that context was definitely to slander him. Obviously, all the things that they were saying to Demetrius previously was just for their own benefit. It was to get him to work for them and to work for them. And in this scene where they're fighting Demetrius because they catch him with Mina is when it becomes clear that they never actually cared about Demetrius. They never actually saw him as one of their own or someone that they should be unified with. They saw a difference and they saw themselves as better than him and wanted him to leave Mina alone because he doesn't deserve her solely because he's black. And this is something that we as South Asians definitely perpetuate. We are constantly benefiting from black people, and then we go out of our way to have racist beliefs, racist notions, ultimately belittle and disrespect our black peers or black people in general, say crude things about the black community without acknowledging the fact that without them we wouldn't have what we have in the Western world whatsoever, period. Without understanding that all the things that we feel towards black people are things that we learned from our oppressor. And that brings me to my final point, which is about the model minority myth and how South Asians buy into it and believe that we're better than black people because we believe a myth that was taught to us by our oppressors. In one of the final scenes in the film, Mina's dad talks to Demetrius and tells him that he doesn't know what it's like to come to America and have to start from scratch and work your way up. And to that, Demetrius obviously gets upset because as a Black American, he has had to work 10 times harder just to get anywhere. And now his business has been tarnished because of the whole situation with Mina, which has ruined his reputation in his town. And he says to him that in terms of color, we are no different. Our skin tones are about the same or just a couple shades lighter or darker. But we come from wherever the hell we come from, as he says, to America, and we start thinking that we're better than Black people. We start acting just like the white man.
I see. I see. So you think I ain't good enough for your daughter, is that it?
No, that's not it. Mina is free to love anyone, to live as she chooses. I respect her freedom. But that does not absolve me of my responsibility as a father.
Well, no disrespect to you, sir, but she's a grown woman and we care for each other very much. Now, I think that's all there is to it.
You know, once I was like both of you. I thought I could change the world, be different. But the world is not so quick to change. Mina is my only child. I don't want her to go through the same struggle as I did.
Struggle? Look, I'm a Black man born and raised in Mississippi. Ain't a damn thing you can tell me about struggle.
What do you know about my...
No, I know. I know. I know you and your folks can come down here from God knows where and be about as black as the ace of spades, and as soon as you get here, you start acting white and treating us like we your doormats. I know that you and your daughter ain't but a few shades from this right here. That I know.
And that is because we believe the white man when he tells us that we are the better immigrants, that we are the better minority group. The model minority myth has brainwashed Asians into believing that just because we work harder and strive that much more is the reason why so many of us are successful. And it makes us believe that we are that much better than the Black or the Latinx community because they just don't work as hard as we do. But that is not true. There are multiple factors why minority groups of color within the Western world cannot elevate their lives because they are systematically oppressed. And there are so many brown people out there who are not doing well, who are not making $100K a year, who are very poor. But even then we believe that we are better than the Black community just because we have allowed ourselves to believe our oppressors when they say that we are that much better. And we all know that in a capitalist world, working harder does not equal success. And this is one of my favorite scenes because everything that Demetrius says to Mina's father eventually clicks to him. It kind of puts him in his place because he did think that he was better than him and that he doesn't know struggle and strife just because he didn't have to immigrate to America. But the truth is that Mina's father just is too ignorant to see that Demetrius and him are the same. It's just that he believes that they are better due to him being so easily wired into believing into the model minority myth, and because he is still very, very hurt by his best friend who betrayed him years ago when he had to leave Uganda. So to wrap up this video, what I want to say is that the South Asian community has a lot of work to do in terms of uncovering our own anti-blackness within our communities, coming face to face with that and breaking bad habits, unlearning a lot of notions and myths that we have bought into, and challenging the ignorant views that we have been taught by people who are older than us. And I guess I say that to Gen Z because we can really change the way things look in the future, and it's our job to break out of these racist values that have been installed in so many of us and make sure that we don't pass that down in our own lineage. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Make sure to like this video. If you have not subscribed already, like, what is he doing, bruv? Let's get to it. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.